Thumbs up. Okay. This is the call to order for the April 16th, 2025 meeting of the Town of Woodside Planning Commission. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Julie, please call the roll.
Chair Weaver,
Present.
Vice Chair Gar, Commissioner Gunerko,
Here.
Commissioner Tauber,
Here.
and Commissioner Apfel is noted absent.
Are there any changes to the published agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda and there are no desk items.
In that case, we will move on to the public comment period for items that are not on tonight's agenda. This is an opportunity for citizens or other interested persons to speak on items of relevance to the Town of Woodside's Planning Commission and planning related activities, but with the proviso that nothing that's brought up during the public comment period can be acted upon tonight, although staff can take notes and the commission members can take notes, and such items brought up could be agendized at a future meeting. Is there anyone present either live or on Zoom that would like to make a public comment on something that is not on tonight's agenda? I see no hands up in the room. Is there anyone online?
No, we have no attendees online.
Okay, given that, we will close the public comment period and then move on to the first item on our agenda, which is, I believe, the consent calendar.
Correct.
And those are the minutes from our
February 26th.
February,
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
our last meeting on April 2nd. So do any of the commissioners or staff members have any corrections or elaborations they would like to meet or would like to make on the minutes from the April 2nd meeting prior to those minutes being approved? Someone can be free to make a motion to approve those minutes.
I motion to approve minutes from April 2nd.
Chair Weaver,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gar, Commissioner Gunerko,
Yes.
Commissioner Tauber.
We will move on to the second item on our agenda, which will be presented by Sage, which is a proposal by the Menlo Country Club to install a treatment facility to reclaim water from the sanitary sewer and use that for irrigation of the golf course.
Thank you, Chair Weaver. Good evening, commissioners. So as noted, Menlo Country Club is proposing to install a water reclamation facility to recycle sewage water into usable irrigation water for the golf course. For several years, the Menlo Country Club has been looking at various options to reduce their reliance on potable municipal water. They have landed on the idea of installing this water reclamation facility, and that would divert water for wastewater from the sewer line on Woodside Road to the facility. The facility treats the water and then is able to store it in an underground storage tank and then send the solids back to the sewer line. So it's one closed system. There's no reliance on creek water or potable water for this facility. So just share my screen. Okay, so just wanted to put everything in context. What you see here is the Menlo Country Club. bounded by the Woodside Hills subdivision to the west and the north, and by Woodside Road to the south and Alameda de las Pulgas to the east. Both across Woodside Road and Alameda de las Pulgas, those areas are outside of the town of Woodside. But Woodside Road has the high school as well as a small neighborhood of single-family residences, as well as a number of single-family residences across the roadway on Alameda de las Pulgas. The water reclamation facility would be located adjacent to Woodside Road, so it has nearby access to the sewer line. So it's relatively far away from residences, definitely within Woodside, and it's several hundred feet across the highway to the nearest residence in Redwood City. And so also note that during about 10 years ago or so, the golf course went through a major renovation, and they had forethought at that time, knowing they were at some point going to need to find a way to rely on some type of recycled water. And they installed purple pipe throughout the golf course. Purple pipe is exactly what it sounds like. It's pipe that is colored purple. And the intent is that it is to be used for these types of facilities. So if this facility is approved and constructed, they would be able to just tap into their existing irrigation pipes that they have laid throughout the golf course without the need to rip up the golf course any further. Just show here the existing conditions. So here's just kind of a survey plan. I'll just try to explain a little bit. I know it's a little bit hard to read. Shows a number of topography lines. Along Woodside Road, there is an existing vehicle entrance gate there. There's also, if you see this diagonal dash lines here, this is a major water transmission line for the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. It's actually a parcel owned by the SFPUC, and the golf course has actually an easement to cross it to put their golf course on top of this water transmission line. So this access gate here, it functions, one, if there's any need for SFPUC to access their water line. It's also used by the country club in minimal fashion. There is an existing area here that is for sand storage. So for maintenance of the golf course, they have to replenish the sand in different areas. And so this is where they store the sand for the golf course. So this is the site plan showing the proposed facility. What you see here is this dash line on the lower part of the slide shows the existing sewer line. And the Menlo Country Club would not trench through the Woodside Road. That'd be very disruptive to traffic as well as the roadway, but they would be boring a pipe underneath the roadway to the existing sewer line. And that would then take the wastewater from the sewer line to the facility. There's a lift station here that brings it into the treatment area, a series of pumps and other mechanical equipment, all to be located within sound attenuated storage containers. So the sound coming off the site would be minimal. There's a noise study that's been provided for this project, and the project would not exceed any of the decibel level readings that are allowed at the property lines. They are rebuilding the sand storage, so it's still incorporated into the same area, and that would be right next to the facility. A large piece of the project that no one will see once it's completed is the underground storage tank. So this is where the treated water will be and transferred to the underground storage tank, and they would rely upon this water as long as it's available through the hotter months of the year. The remaining solid waste would then be rediverted back to the sewer line. So here's another line coming off of the site back to the main sewer line on Woodside Road. The technical team for Menlo is here, and they can answer more of the detailed questions of the operation if there are questions related to that. But I will note that the Menlo Country Club also looked at different options for water storage, and at one point looked at just kind of it being like an open pond. Another iteration, they kind of contained it what was called a bladder. I kind of equate it to one of the old water beds. It's like a large kind of enclosed sack that would hold the water. We talked with Menlo and there was just questions, what happens if a deer gets on that and, could there be problems that way? And ultimately, the country club decided that it would be best just to put it completely below grade and just to re-landscape a lawn area on top of it. So that's what's being proposed as part of the project. So there's a lot of technical details in this plan set, but I think one of the easiest ways to kind of understand and kind of visualize the project is to look at the renderings that they've provided. So you can start here with these are kind of aerial renderings. This is a view from the Woodside Road area onto the side. This is that existing gate that I was talking about. And there's some smaller equipment that's located adjacent to the fence, as well as a storage container in this area and maybe part of this storage container. All of these are within 50 feet of the front property line. Therefore, variance is required. But given the location and the need to have close access to the sewer line, staff has outlined recommended findings for approval of the variance. So these would be the storage containers with different equipment in it. And these are just the sand areas. So these are not directly related to the water reclamation facility itself. It's just a replacement of the sand storage areas that are currently in operation for the club. The Menlo Country Club is looking to do a berm to help kind of screen the facility from the golf course. There's also a recommended condition of approval to work with staff to see if there's any infill landscaping that might be able to take place along this border to further reduce the visibility. And to touch on the visibility, that story poles are installed. So if you've had a chance to see them, you'll note that all of the equipment, even the storage containers, all are below the existing fence line. Menlo Country Club has a 10-foot tall fence that was approved by a variance several decades ago. And it has slats inside of that chain link fence, so really obscures the visibility. And there is some landscaping there, and there are probably some opportunities to put in a little bit more landscaping to help fill that in. But none of the equipment will protrude above the fence line. So whereas we can see it in this aerial view, you really won't see much of this facility unless you're kind of peeking through the slats of the fence. And we'll just show kind of some different views. These, again, they're typical shipping containers, whereas these will be insulated with noise attenuation components to help reduce the amount of noise that comes out of any of the pumps or other noise generating equipment. This is just a side as viewed from Menlo Country Club. You can see a little bit better the little lift station area that would be part of what brings the sewage onto the site and releases it back out into the sewer system. But you'll see that, again, these pieces of equipment, relatively low profile, and staff has conditioned the project for whatever equipment can be to be painted a dark brown to further reduce the visibility. And lastly, this is just a direct aerial shot kind of showing everything over the site, showing how, I should note that this is not the only access to the site, that the main entrance to Menlo Country Club further to the west actually has this kind of utility driveway that comes through their plant storage area as well, then can be accessed from that. So a lot of the smaller typical day-to-day, if any traffic is needed from that, will come through the main entrance, whereas this entrance will primarily be used for any large installation of the equipment, as well as it's used for the sand storage area. With that, I guess I'll conclude my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And Menlo's team, as I've noted, they have a lot more of the technical expertise and can help answer any of those technical questions if you have any.
Alex, do you want to lead off?
I just have an informational question. Regarding the waste that will be the byproduct of the treatment, of the reclamation, this is just for my own personal interest. How will that be? Will that be mixed with water and then pushed down the sewer, going down towards Redwood City? How does that work?
That's right. You already talked to me. Thank you very much. Hi, Andy Comer. I'm the design engineer of record on this project on behalf of Menlo Country Club. Sage, great job on presenting that. You hit 99% of the points. So just to answer your question, basically, wastewater is brought into the plant as needed to fill that tank, as Sage had mentioned. There's beneficial bacteria in there that basically remove all the solids, but then that liquid mixture can then be strategically sent back to the sewer system at a time in the middle of the night, for example, to flush out the downstream sewer. So the only thing leaving the plant is about 3% of what you send to it, and it's clean liquid containing the beneficial bacteria, and a few bags of screened refuse that is in the sewage that goes out with the landfill waste from the club.
So all the raw sewage that comes from Woodside, every bit of it goes into the tanks first and gets treated.
Actually, there's in the left-hand side there, you see those two orange units? It initially goes through a 2 mm screening system. So if you just look at my fingers right here, 2 mm is a 1/10 of an inch. So anything larger than a 1/10 of an inch gets rejected, compacted, and put into a sealed bag. So a couple times a week, that sealed bag then is just tied off and put in with the waste management with the club. Everything else goes in, it's processed, 97% becomes odorless, colorless water that looks like tap water, feels like tap water. But then 3% of the liquid at night is sent back to the sewer.
Thank you.
And why don't we finish with questions for staff? Then we'll let this gentleman present on behalf of the country club, and then we can grill him as much as we want. So do any of the commissioners have further questions for Sage from the Townsend? All right, given that, the applicant or the applicant's representative can come on up, and if you have a presentation, do that, and then immediately, and then we'll move on from there.
Great. I think we have a PowerPoint presentation that is being pulled up. While that's happening, just by way of introduction, my name is Steve Gonzalez. I'm the general manager of Menlo Country Club, and I just want to thank you all for having us here tonight to consider this project. Just by way of introduction, Menlo Country Club was incorporated in 1904, so we've been part of the community for 120 years, and in that entire time, we have dedicated ourselves to being responsible environmental stewards. And as we continue to look at those sustainable practices, one of our biggest challenges has always been water and irrigating the golf course. And so several years ago, about a decade ago, we came up with a two-phased plan, if you'd like to flip to the second switch, because we saw that we were using about 95 million gallons of water per year, and our only source of water was potable water. That's not sustainable in the long term, and it's not consistent with our good citizenship. So we developed this two-phase plan. If you flip to the next screen, please. So in 2015, we upgraded our irrigation system and put a state-of-the-art irrigation system in that we can really dial in our water use. In 2017, we reduced the size of our fairways, and we replaced about 40 acres of our rough with native grasses that don't need to be irrigated. And then, of course, in 2022, we did our turf conversion project and went from ryegrass to Santa Ana Bermuda, which is a less thirsty turf. So we were controlling the things that we could control. And now we're into phase two, because that only got us about 40%, about 44% of the way to where we wanted to be. And so now we are looking for a water source, which is why we're here and we're talking about our skim plat. We're targeting an additional savings of about 36 to 38 million gallons per year, which will give an 83% overall reduction of the potable water that we're using if we can move forward with this project. So that's what we're here to talk about. I'm going to turn it over to Andy because he has some additional technical
specs that he's going to go over.
Thank you, Steve. So the next slide, I've got two slides, and it's the saame one you saw in Sage's presentation, and it kind of hits on some of the points you were asking about. So these plants are becoming very commonplace. There's one 2 miles away at Sharon Heights. It's been successfully operated for now a couple years. It's making water. We were unsuccessful in helping out on that one, but we've helped out on a lot of projects in the Bay Area that are similar to this. And the technology has gotten to the point where it's almost, you bring it in, you pump it a little bit, and it comes out clean on the back end because we use membranes. Some guy 25 years ago in Phoenix, Arizona, dropped membranes into a sewage tank and decided that that was a great way to treat water, and that now is the industry standard, which makes things a lot easier. So looking at the screen from left to right along Woodside Road, you've got about 0.2 million gallons a day flowing towards the bay. It gets treated and actually wasted and sent into the bay currently. And so we want to build that 0.6 million gallon underground storage tank that Sage had mentioned, and fill that thing with clean water and use it to irrigate the golf course, as was mentioned. As soon as that tank comes down from completely topped off to less than topped off, then we're going to call for some local source water. And so that local source water, instead of going straight to the bay, it just takes a little bit of a V diversion. And that's actually a closed diversion system. So if we decide not to pump, it just continues to do what it does today by gravity. It's completely fail-safe. But when we need water, we'll send it up into those 2 millimeter screens that I described. It drops into the plant. That drop of water is in the plant for about 6 to 8 hours, and it comes out the back end disinfected, odorless, colorless, nutrient low water, and it's perfect for irrigation. Hundreds of golf courses in California use it for irrigation. So you see we've got precast concrete blocks that are put into the ground. Those are the treatment tanks. Precast blocks come in large sizes these days, so we don't need to bring in concrete trucks and set up forms and things like that. We'll have those built over in Stockton. They come in a truck, they drop in, there's 8 of them. 4 shipping containers, those are going to be built at our facility in Southern California. My coworkers, Joe and George, are here as well. We're going to basically get those things completely assembled, tested, flood tested, controls tested, get everything set up off site. Those also come in a truck. We pop them in, plug and play. So that's very simple to assemble, test, and make sure that we meet all of the state requirements for this unrestricted reuse water. And one final point on this slide before we go to the benefits of the project. We've got a fire standpoint on the left there, which is in the red dot. We're going to hook that into the 100 PSI irrigation system, and there will be 600,000 gallons of pressurized fire storage for emergency purposes if needed. So 4 benefits of the project, and then we can answer questions, is 83% reduction in potable water use compared to 10 years ago, which is amazing. Fire water, if we need it, we've got a lot of it. It's under pressure. It's right there on the side of the road. Thirdly, unlike Sharon Heights, that was a lot of form work and pouring and stuff built on site, we're going to have a very small footprint here, built off site, assembled on site. And fourthly, probably the most important thing, we're going to have the highest grade of recycled water quality that you can get. We're treating with a membrane that has 0.04 micron pore size. That means you're squeezing the water through there and everything else is rejected. The water comes out crystal clear on the back end. And it's proven technology that we've used all over the place in this area. So with that, we'd like to take questions.
Just a reminder for everyone to make sure you speak into your microphones clearly for anyone on Zoom.
All right, Commissioner Gar seems like he wants to lead off, so.
Just 2 questions. So you mentioned the very high quality water. How high quality is it? Is it like close to potable? That's number 1. And then number 2 is just longevity of the site. And then what happens to things like underground tanks when they get decommissioned and need to be serviced and replaced in the future?
Okay, so I'll take number 1 first, which is the quality of the water. So basically, it's called State of California Title 22 Unrestricted Reuse Water, which basically means that you can use it for pretty much anything you want. Crops, it's put into Lake Elsinore and people swim in it. You can touch it. You could actually drink it. Short term, you'd be fine because the water is safe. It's completely safe water. It has no coliform bacteria in it. It's got no virus in it. It's very, very high quality water.
it appears like tap water, it smells like tap water, it's got the same concentration of chlorine as tap water. So all intents and purposes, it acts like that.
Why is it non-potable?
It's non-potable simply because there are some trace pharmaceuticals such as estrogen, Advil, caffeine, et cetera, that are in the part per trillion quantities that are unregulated. But I happen to be the engineer of record in the city of Santa Monica's plant, which actually took recycled water and made drinking water out of it. And that plant was commissioned and started up about 2 or 3 years ago. It just has a couple additional steps to prepare it for the extremely stringent drinking water standards. Okay. Second question is the longevity. There are custom-built plants like Sharon Heights out there. There are package plants out there, which are built completely in a shipping container and things hanging on the side. Ours is in the middle, which is a hybrid approach, which we're using concrete. We think that's really important to use something that's going to last, which is concrete. It's precast concrete, and we're going to stick it under the ground so that it's, you know, underneath the high level of the fence. And so we expect that to last a long time. The shipping containers are completely sealed, so they're protected from the elements. We have a mini split, ultra quiet Mitsubishi HVAC system to keep it cool in there, dust free in there. So that should last a long time as well. And then our underground storage tank, you alluded to, we had some lower quality ones we were thinking about for a while. We actually have an extremely high quality Jensen precast concrete underground system. So concrete, and the shipping containers are sealed and protected.
Richard, please go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry, what is the concrete for?
What is the concrete for?
Yes.
It's to hold water
Oh.
in the 600,000 gallon
Got it.
storage tank, and it's also to hold the water for the treatment plant. Okay,
And a follow-up question, how do you clean the filters?
great question. So these membrane filters, it's kind of hard to believe, but this inventor 25 years ago, they're membrane straws. They come in thousands and thousands of straws, and they're rigid, just like the one you'd get at McDonald's. And on the outside of those straws has the 0.04 micron holes, millions and millions and millions of holes. Basically, it's air scoured. So we add a little bit of air underneath, and it's targeted air, and it kind of flushes off. And then you also reverse the pumps every 10 minutes for 30 seconds, and it pumps water backwards through them, and you add a little bleach mechanically, automatically. And so I've actually was the design engineer of record of the city of Lathrop and Mountain House. Those are two membrane plants that have been in operation for 10 years now, and same membranes.
I believe Matt, third question was regarding the storage tanks. Well, you talked about longevity, but what happens when the system is no longer being used?
Yeah, I mean, if it was no longer used, let's just say we decided we weren't going to run this project anymore and we needed to be abandoned in place. Well, this particular Jensen precast tank system has a top on it. So it's got a lid that's H20, which means traffic rated, heavy traffic rated on top. And then there's a layer of soil and grass above that. So it'd be completely reasonable just to abandon it in place. Some projects would rip a hole in the lid and backfill it with sand, for example. You could do that, but I don't see a need to.
Alex, did you have questions? I have a couple of questions for you. First off, thanks to Vice Chair Gar for asking for a more elaborate definition of the Title 22 California unrestricted recycled water, which was mentioned in the report multiple times, and I ended up Googling. But I mean, part of the project is there is an 800 amp diesel generator that's going to be part of the site. And could you elaborate on what the usage scenario is for that?
Sure. So we have an 800 amp utility electrical service from PG&E. And that's going to be basically in case you turned on all the equipment at once, which includes the irrigation pumps and the blowers and everything else. We don't normally anticipate using that much amperage, but since we're getting a new service, we've got some safety factor in there. Conversely, the generator is much, much smaller than that. And so it only is there in case the utility power is turned off by PG&E, for example. And then we just want to keep a little bit of air in the system to keep it fresh. That's it. So it's basically just for critical equipment. We would stop producing water if the power was out.
Okay, if there was an electrical outage in the local area, then basically anytime there was a local electrical outage, the generator would turn on and would run until the power was restored?
Correct. Yes.
And that would be just for the reclamation facility, or is that also for the country club in general?
This is just for the reclamation facility, and it's just for 2 air blowers, just to keep everything circulating.
Okay.
That's the only reason.
And then, second question about the usage scenarios for the second driveway. It was mentioned that one of the usages for the second access driveway, rather than the primary driveway to your facility, would be when the sand had to be replenished, which is understandable. But would that second driveway accessing the facility, how often would that be accessed?
Kip, do you want to cover that one, or?
Are your weekly chlorine
okay.
deliveries coming in on the second driveway?
Great question. So yes, we've got chlorine deliveries twice per month. So I don't know if biweekly is a confusing word for me, but twice per month is going to be a chlorine delivery. And then the refuse I talked about that's bagged, that will not require any truck access. And so the only other access will be 4 times per month. Maintenance and operations personnel will need to access the site. And that's why I was going to ask Kip to come up, because I'm not sure if they're using the Woodside Road in that case, or they're using the main for that part. They'd be using the main.
Right, that makes
Yep,
sense.
thank you.
That is it for my questions. So unless any of the commissioners, oh, go for it.
If power was not available for an extended period of time, is there a way of just blocking off the reclamation part? In other words, your entire plant, and just letting the sewer continue to the bay?
Yes, absolutely. So that's exactly what would happen. So the only thing I would run are those 2 blowers, keep everything circulating, keep it fresh, but then we'd stop pumping into the plant. Anytime we stop pumping into the plant, it's just business as usual. Woodside sewage flows from upstream down to the bay.
Just to use your microphone, please. Thank you.
There we go. This is more curiosity. I mean, when I was reading this on tree removal, you're removing 6 redwoods and 12 oak trees. You're replacing them with 1 12-inch oak, 3 6-inch redwoods, and 4 6-inch oaks. And I'm wondering, kind of the ratio of removals to replacements. Can you fill me in on that, because they're not 1 for 1?
So I think, as you know, a lot of golf courses are removing, some trees just because of, makes golf holes look a little bit more playable. I'm a big golfer. I played college golf myself. And I think that is, the preference for the golf course. But we thought that there are, probably plenty of trees now, and we're replacing some of the trees. But we don't want to have root intrusion on top of, for example, our tank system. That's probably the reason why we're 2 to 3 ratio of replacement compared to existing. It's close.
Are there any further commissioner questions for the applicant? There being none, I'm prepared to open the public comment period for this agenda item. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to make a public comment on this? I see no one in the room. Is there anyone online, Julie?
No one online.
Absent any public, any have any requests for public comment, I'm prepared to close the public comment period and move on to commissioner discussion. So you can kick it off.
First off, it seems great to save that much water, so commend you all for doing that. I'm actually interested in, it's just to be a good steward, or if there's like other regulations driving it, but that's awesome. So it makes sense. I mean, the core thing we're deciding is predominantly around setbacks. I mean, this thing is sitting along Woodside Road, so it's not like those setbacks are also, you know, adjacent to neighbors and things like that. So it's just kind of sitting there along a fence, which actually seems like makes sense, keeps the country club open as much as possible. So for me, it makes a lot of sense.
There we go. I was here probably 3 or 4 years ago when the club had finished their facility in the back, and there was an issue with neighbors, and I toured the whole thing, and I spent some time with you, and I just think that we need to. This is a no-brainer to me, and we need to do what we can to help, because I think business is getting more and more challenging, and things are more scarce, like water, and more precious. And I think what you're doing is commendable. I think it was a big, hairy, audacious goal to reduce water usage like you have. And it takes a huge investment. And at the same time, you need to make the business work. You need to get membership and everything like that. So I think you operate under constraints, and they're real constraints. And I think you're trying to, you're doing a great job. I'm for this. I mean, the only comments that I have are that, you know, the reasonable conditions that are put in the report with regards to screening, you know, I have no issue with the noise. It sounds like it's perfect. Lighting, it needs to be TBD. It needs to comply with the municipal code. Sage spoke about the screening. So I think, you know, a mixture of making sure that there's enough screening and the lighting complying with the municipal code, just things to not create kind of externalities. But I think this is commendable, and I support it. And it's a big, hairy, audacious goal, and you've done it. But it takes a lot of money, as you outlined phase 1 and phase 2. So my only comment is to make sure that all the reasonable conditions that are explained in the report are followed. That's it. And thank you.
I absolutely have no negative comments. I just wanted to say, from my point of view, it's great to come here and to be presented with a project like this instead of, let's say, a 4-story high-rise that we have to pass. So there we go.
I would agree with what my colleagues have said, and it makes perfect sense. Instead of using tens of millions of gallons of Hetch Hetchy water, it makes sense to use recycled water for the golf course. So, if someone wanted to make a motion on this. As drafted. Yes.
So I motion to pass the resolution as drafted for the sewer reclamation water for the golf course use.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch you seconded it.
I'll second it.
Chair Weaver,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gar,
Yes.
Commissioner Ganerko,
Yes.
Commissioner Tauber.
Yes.
In that case, the resolution passes, and you folks can have a good evening. Okay, you're welcome. Sage, did you have anything else for us tonight? as far
No,
as
I just will note there's a 10-day appeal period. And
There is a 10-day appeal period. Please come if anyone is online and wants to appeal this, you can come to town hall and staff will explain to you the procedure.
So yes, that's it for this project. And the only other thing I'll note is that you all are probably aware that the town council has selected a new town manager. We'll be starting on May 15th. Jason Ledbetter. He is currently the city manager of the town of Wairika. Also has some experience as a general services manager for Siskiyou County, which is the county in which Wairika is located. So this is up in Northern California, almost at the Oregon border. He also has some engineering background, so we are excited to work with Jason, and he'll be starting shortly. He'll be meeting with staff members next week just to start to get up to speed. The next town council meeting is this upcoming Tuesday, which is the 22nd, yes.
And,
It is at 7 o'clock.
and do you have any prognostications on the next planning commission meeting?
We have anything-
The next one's scheduled for May 7th. We do not have any items finalized just yet.
We're going to be meeting with staff to start figuring out some next schedules. We also are working on starting to look at more ADU regulations, and that stuff will be coming up to the planning commission next month or so.
Well, we seem to have the bandwidth so far this year.
Yes, yes, but I will note that
Yep.
there are other code changes and other items that will definitely be involving the planning commission. I will involve a fair amount of time from the planning commission. And again, if you just speak into the microphone, please, thank you.
After the fires in LA, while Kevin was still in seat and a replacement hadn't been found, spoke to him about what changes in the zoning ordinance do we need to do to, that are no-brainers. I mean, things like wood shake roofs that this town really defines itself by, but that in today's kind of, thank you for coming.
Yes.
Good luck, and we're here to help. Any changes coming to the zoning code that better prepare us for fire?
So it's a good question. And so I've actually been meeting to meet with the fire marshal. There are new fire regulations about non-combustible materials within 5 feet of a residence, wood fences being close to a residence. And so one, we'd like to get a better understanding of what actually is required, and also how we may need to change our zoning regulations to kind of fit with the fire district standards, as well as just being more proactive in figuring out how to make things more fire safe. So that's another code item that we'll be looking to discuss a little bit further, and likely be bringing something to the planning commission.
Yes. And once again, we have the bandwidth to support it. I know that staff may be busy with permits and other stuff trying to help your customers, which is our residents. But we're available to help you guys support moving forward on this.
Great, thank you.
Interesting on that stuff. I mean, it might even go beyond code to things like
Right.
general, right? Like the general plan probably, I don't remember the language, probably says all kinds of things about preserving trees, and like volume of trees that are here now compared to like how it was naturally is like over the top,
yeah,
right? And
no.
that's the fuel. Like you can have, one tree is how many shake roofs of fuel. It's
The residential design guidelines are dated like 2012, and that's sort of pre the epic fires we've had over the last 12 years or so.
And
that picture have you seen the pictures next to each other in the town hall where it shows like you can see 50 years ago how it was just these like fairly open oak
Right.
grasslands, and now it's just like fuel everywhere.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
No, nothing.
So I'll just come out and say, it's funny because there's a transition in leadership. At the same time, I think we're responding to the state mandates on ADUs. I mean, it's just like, there's a lot of stuff going on, but I think to our chair's point, anything related to fire, like, we're happy to be a tool for the town to be proactive, and do anything that needs to be moved along, because it's we have a golden opportunity to do that after what happened in Southern California. So if we can do some open sessions and get kind of citizen input to kind of take the pressure off the system and allow you to then put forth a set of 10, 12 things that you think are no-brainers that we need to do, like, I think using us proactively, I just want you to know that, like, I'm game for them, and I'm sure I speak for the rest of the folks here.
Great, thank you.
So after the LA fires, the firemen that were interviewed said that a lot of the houses burned down because they burned from the inside out. And the reason they did that was because the vents, the attic vents,
Mm-hmm,
were too large.
mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering whether or not it's on the radar of our fire department to perhaps mandate any and actually retrofit potentially vents that can be just smaller vent holes that can be put over the existing vents. It would be pretty simple. And a lot of those embers would not go into the attic and burn the house.
I'm not well versed in those details, but I do know that that the town does has widened the wireline urban interface requirements, not just to those specific areas, but town-wide. I do know venting requirements are very serious and more strict these days. And the last thing I'll note is the town, while there's also, people may be familiar with the Defensible Space Reimbursement Program,
Mm.
in which people can get reimbursed for removing vegetation that could be hazardous or dead, creating extra fuel. There's also a program for home hardening related to fire protection. So there's certain ways in which people can do home hardening and get some amount of that money reimbursed. through the
Yeah, yeah, that definitely should be, that money should be used for
Yeah,
that also.
I know there's going to be more promotion of that as well.
And I believe that the latest version of the California Building Code, Chapter 7 or 7A, whatever, that applies to the urban wildland interface is very strict on the vents for new construction and renovations. It would be good to have some clarity on the fire district and its program to do all parcels and inspect all properties over a 3-year period and see if they're actually requiring a tightening up of those vent requirements during this 3-year cycle.
Because new construction is like 1 out of 100 houses and
Yep.
existing houses.
Yep. Right.
Great. I have
Are we
nothing
done
further.
here?
I have nothing further.
In that case, I will adjourn this meeting.